Hey guys, in last time's video, we had seen how Darwin's theory on natural selection was supported with the descent with modification, and we've seen the evidence in the world that shows us why descent with modification was believable. Today, we'll be talking about natural selection. So, natural selection explains descent with modification. It was natural selection that Darwin was able to point out as an explanation, and that's why his theory gained popularity. So Darwin had given four postulates. These were variation exists among animals and organisms, in fact. There are traits which are heritable. That means that certain characteristics are passed on from parents to offsprings through genes or epigenetic inheritance and other mechanisms. The third postulate was that survival and reproductive success are variable. This means that Darwin recognized that not all organisms survive. Like, there are several fatalities, and not every genetic trait is sustainable. And the last postulate was that mating is not random, so non-random sampling, which can affect the genetic outlook. These four theories can be put together in one statement. This is evolution by natural selection occurs when heritable variation leads to differential reproductive success. This states that variations that are inherited from parent to offsprings, forgive the spelling once again, lead to differential reproductive success. That is, the genetic outlook of an organism is able to affect how successful the organism is in furthering its progeny. There are three important terms when we look at natural selection. The first is fitness. This is the ability of an individual to produce surviving fertile offsprings relative to the ability of other individuals in the population. This means that an organism that is able to mate more and perform more viable offsprings, let me put that down, viable offsprings or progeny, so an organism that is able to produce more viable offsprings or progeny will be able to further its genes into the next generation. Therefore, an organism which can do this is considered fitter than an organism that is not able to do this. The second definition is of adaptation, which is a heritable trait that increases the fitness of an individual in a particular environment relative to the individuals lacking that trait. So every variation will lead to a difference in the phenotype of an organism. A heritable trait that increases the fitness may be, for example, stronger muscles or better looks or camouflaging. All of these can have particular effects which will depend on the environment that the organism is in. Maybe a longer tail is useful in environment A, but a shorter tail is useful in environment B. So it's not always that a longer tail will be better. It depends on which environment the organism is living in. And the last is the definition of selection, which is a passive process of differential reproduction as a result of heritable variation. This shows us how different traits which are inherited have an impact on the reproduction of an organism and thus affect the fitness. Now, selection can be either natural, which is what Darwin observed, that is in nature, how natural events form the differential environments and thus lead to differential reproduction. Or it can even be artificial. These changes in environments can be artificially created, or even the genetic outlook of an organism can be manipulated using biotechnology and everything present today. And this is used in lab studies to identify how evolution takes place. However, it is important to note that natural selection is not the only mechanism by which evolution happens. There are several other mechanisms, and we will take a look at these in the future video. Thanks for watching.